You guys asked how I make my stencils. Today I'm going to teach you how to paint this. First step that you want to do is go to stencillab.ai, and this was something that was created by Tom Welliwells. I'm sure some of you, if not everybody, knows who he is. He's a very talented spray paint artist, and this is how I started doing my stencils. So you'll click this register button and walk through the steps, and once you're there, I'll show you the next step. Okay, so once you're registered, it is free to register. You'll be at this screen. We'll hit the Go to Studio, and this is what you'll be looking at. So the way that I make all my stencils, or if somebody has like a custom order they want to do for me, they'll send me an image, and then I will search for that image on the computer. We're going to do these cherry blossom trees because it's just a really pretty image, and this is what you'll be looking at. So if you do entire image, that'll take the entire thing and create a stencil for you. But we only want to focus on the cherry blossoms and the branch. So we're going to do subject only. Takes a minute for it to recognize what it's doing. And then down here it has the layer count. So the more layers you have, the more detailed the piece will be. We're going to see what 15 layers looks like. Over here it'll generate it to 15 layers for you. And this is what the stencil will look like once it's complete. If we do 20, which is the most stencils you can create, it'll generate it again over here. And there's a little bit more detail. So then once we set down here, all these auto settings, I just keep it how it is because it does create your bridges automatically for you, which is something you used to have to do with other programs, which is very time consuming. So that's always really good to have. This overlay button is really nice. If you click that, that will create this image, but it's just something that you would lay over the completed painting. So let's say you wanted to do this, and then you also wanted to have a different background. You would do the stencil like you normally would, you put the overlay stencil over it, and then you weigh it down and you do your background piece. So this has 15 layers. What's cool about this too is it doesn't have to be in these increments. So let's say I want to do it in 16 layers. You just scroll this bar and it'll give it those layers. So let's do 17. I like 17 better. We're gonna go with that. So over here has all of your different layers that you've got. You can hit this little button here and that'll delete a layer, or it'll hide a layer, excuse me. So see how the colors kind of disappear from here. So if you like all the layers except for one, you can hide that so you don't have to do that. And this over here shows you what cans you'll be using. So I'm going to be using Montana Gold because I really like Montana Gold. You really get for the bang for your buck. And there's all kinds of different cans that you can select, but I always stick for Montana Gold. And you just kind of make sure you've got all your settings you want. I don't think I'm going to do the overlay with this one. We're going to hit export, and one thing I would recommend is doing the cross hatches, just because that makes this very easy to paint as well, because then you just have to line these up each layer. Alright, so once you're at this stage, what I typically do when I'm exporting something is all layers into a zip, so that it'll give you PNG, SVG, DXF, or PDF. When I download it and I get to that folder, I always select PNG because that tends to be easier to do on the Cricut desktop, but I will get to that in just a moment. So the cross hatches you can get rid of if you don't want them. You just have to unclick it and this will be your stencil. The cross hatches definitely help because, like I said, it'll make it easier for you to layer how things go down, so you're always lined up with everything. You can put the cross hatches over the stencil, but then that kind of defeats the purpose and it does not turn out well in my opinion. You scroll down a little more, you can change the position of the cross hatches. Let's say you wanted them on the bottom. You just select it on the bottom. I prefer the top. And if you look over back at the colors here, let's say you're trying to think of what colors is in everything. That's the really cool thing about this program too, is it tells you exactly what colors you would need. So let's say layer 17, I want to know what that last layer color is. It's written underneath, but if you double click it, this shows you all the colors that are kind of related to it. If you hover over the one that has the little box over it, that will tell you the exact name and the description of how to find it on the Montana Gold section. Alright, so we're going to export this. You'll save it first before you can do anything with it. Once it's saved, we're going to click this little arrow, drop down arrow. I'm going to export all layers into a zip file. Okay, once that's done, we're going to click the downloads button. I'm going to drag that folder onto my desktop. We're going to double click it. I always change the view so I can kind of see what we got here. If you want to double check every single layer, you just have to click it and it'll open every single layer for you. Alright, so once you've downloaded your stencils, what I use to cut everything is my Cry-Cut. So I go to that program. It's got to load. We're going to go to new project, blank canvas, start designing. So this is kind of the tedious part of it. We have to click upload. There's my previous projects. Go to upload image, browse for the image, and we're going to look for our folder. So one thing I should mention is once you download your stencils, it'll be in a zip file. So what I do is create a new folder and I'll title it based off of what those stencils are and extract those into that new folder. So now when you come into the design space, you'll click that folder and you have to do these one at a time. So you'll click the first stencil, you'll hit open, here's your stencil, hit continue, hit continue. We don't need multiple layers because we've already got that figured out. We don't need a flat graphic because that won't cut anything. So we're going to go to single layer, hit continue one more time, and that gets you into the design space. So with design space, it can only cut something 11.5 inches wide and 24 inches long. So it will give me this error if that is anything bigger. So one way you can do that, it'll show you right here. You click the little error message and it'll tell you exactly what I just said. So based off of the size of your canvas, you can come up here, click the width. Let's say we want it 8 inches wide. It'll calibrate it and make the height appropriate for that. Now let's say you don't want it to automatically do that. If you click this little lock up here, that unlocks everything for you. So let's say I still want it 8 inches wide, but I want it 10 inches tall. I can adjust it like that. Now the trick with that is when it comes to getting more stencils in here, make sure that these numbers match, because even if it's off by 0.5, they won't line up and it won't come out correct. I have done that multiple times. I've had to redo paintings because it's off by just a smidge. So you'll select your sizes and then you'll have to do that for every single piece. You'll hit upload, go to upload, hit browse. Since I already had that folder, it's going to pull that up. I'll click the next layer, hit continue, apply and continue, click single layer, hit continue, hit continue, and it'll come back up here, so it'll automatically put it to a size that isn't what you have it set as. So like I said, you have to make this match, otherwise it's not going to work. So I always click here. I have this at 8 and I have this at 10. So we'll click here, uncheck this box, we'll make this 8, and then we will make this 10. So now they line up with each other, and that is stencil 2. All your stencils will show up on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and get everything figured out and sized how I want for my 11 by 14 canvas, and I will get back to you guys. Okay, so once you've got all of your stencils imported into here, it will look like this. Not exactly like this, but I did change the color to every single layer so I can see and make sure everything is lined up. Because when you import them, they're all in black, so it makes it difficult to see. I should note that when you do bring stuff in, not everything is lined up exactly. So it is good to have these cross hatches, because you can just make sure that all of these line up together, changing the colors on every layer, stacking them on top of each other, and this will be your completed image. So once you've got everything lined up how you want it, the size that you want it, I would recommend clicking the little eyeball over here and hiding every layer. This isn't necessary, but this is just the way that I have found easiest to keep track of what layer I'm cutting. So I'm going to start with layer 1. We're going to go to make it. It'll bring me to this next screen here. Because this stencil is just on the edge of 12. You have a mat that's a 12 by 12 and you have a mat that's 12 by 24. So we're going to have to put it on the 12 by 24 because that is the only way it'll fit for us to cut it. So then we're going to, I always move it down just a little bit, give myself some room, and hit continue. Let's connect the machine and we'll go to the next step. Alright, so once you have plugged in your machine, you'll be on this screen. So I always set the base material to cardstock 80 pounds, and then it'll give you the next step, which is loading your paper. So based off of the size of your project, there are two different mats. This one is 12 inches by 24 inches. This one is a 12 by 12. So the brand that I use is the Michael's Craft Store brand, which is Make Market. They're cheaper, but they're just as good as the Cry Cut brand, and the Cry Cut brand is very expensive. I will link this down in the description so that you can just find that right there. Same with the paper. The paper, I just use their brand because it's cheaper than the Cry Cut brand. Now, the weight of the paper, this is white cardstock, and they are both 65 pounds. I haven't noticed any different weight at Michael's. If there is anything heavier, I'm not sure how the machine will handle it, but this is just my preference. So now let's get this paper loaded up onto this mat and we'll get to cutting. Alright, so we're going to take this. The trick with this is you want to line it up right with the corners. I always give it a good rub. Notice how it's lined up as best as I can. Take that, bring it over to the mat. There are these two little bars that are sticking up. You just want to feed it underneath it. And we'll hit this little button here. I'm going to hold this while it gets itself aligned. Hit the cut button. Still going to hold it, making sure the paper doesn't get snagged. And it's going to start cutting. Easy peasy. Now while that is cutting, if you look right in the middle here, that shows you the percentage. Once that's to 100, it'll obviously be done cutting, it'll let you know, and then you can move on to your next stencil. So this is what it'll look like when it's all done cutting. You'll click done, it'll eject it from the mat, bring you back to here. I'm going to hide this first layer, show the second layer, and start the process all over. But let's go peel that first layer off on the mask. Alright, so once it's done, you tell it that you're done and get it set for the next layer. This is already blinking for the next set. I'm going to take this, and we're just going to peel off our stencil. Be very kind of delicate with it because there are some thin lines and you don't want that to snap. And there is layer 1. Okay, so this is the next layer. I wanted you guys to see this because not everything will come off of this stencil. So if you look here, I'm going to have to weed out some of these because they don't always peel off with the mat. Just like that. But once you get that all done, you can move on to the next step. Or you can even do that while it's cutting the next layer. One thing I did forget to mention is when you are exporting your stencils, click that drop down arrow and it'll have this color guide. You click that. This will show you exactly what colors it recommends to go with your stencil. And based off of what paint brand you use, it'll tell you everything you need for that particular brand. Okay, so now we've got everything cut and ready to go. One thing I should mention is when you cut out each layer, I found it easy to write down the number of what layer that is and then put it in order, so that way you know which way that you're going to need to paint the stencils. But we've got everything set and ready to go, so let's get painting.